I've decided to split the $5 million between my mom and me. This decision came right after my dad's funeral. Bob, who had looked through the inheritance papers without asking, said to me, "Elena, don't be greedy." At that moment, I thought to myself, finally, I can quit my job and be thankful for the old man. But then Bob called him a doddering old man. I couldn't help but blurt out, "Are you talking about my dad?" while ignoring my shock. Bob and my mother-in-law were already excitedly talking about buying a new car and going shopping. With everything going on, I couldn't hold back my emotions any longer. I was about to burst, on top of all the housework, asking for money, and then them insulting my dad. I just couldn't live with Bob and my mother-in-law anymore. Holding back my anger, I forced a smile and said, "Sure, feel free to use the money as you and my mother-in-law see fit." I am Alina Anaya, a 40-year-old housewife working with my husband. My parents, both doctors, ran a well-known clinic in our hometown. As their only child, I was deeply loved. After finishing Commonwealth School, I got a job at a big pharmaceutical company. Though my parents wished I had become a doctor, they supported my choice. 12 years ago, my mother died in an accident, leaving me and my father heartbroken. During that tough time, Bob, who was then my boyfriend, supported me. We met through a friend and got engaged 4 years after my mom's death. Bob worked in the food and beverage sector and earned less than me, but I believed we could face any challenge and be happy together. My dad was very happy for us. When I told my dad about our engagement, he said, "I've heard how Bob has supported you, Alina. Thank you so much. Please continue to take care of her." Bob stood up straight and promised in front of my dad, "I will make her happy." Standing next to Bob, I felt truly happy. The next week, we went to Bob's family home to announce our marriage. His mother, who wore a lot of makeup and was divorced from Bob's father, looked me over critically. "Marriage, huh? You're Bob's choice. Isn't she a bit plain for you? And she's older, right? Wouldn't a younger and prettier girl be better for you?" Bob quickly replied, "Mom, you know in pharmaceuticals, right? Alina works there. Her father is a doctor and runs his own practice." I expected Bob to talk about my personality, but instead, he talked about my job and my dad's status. Hearing this, his mother's attitude changed. "Oh, Bob, you should have mentioned these important things earlier. That changes everything. I happily approve of the marriage. Nice to meet you, Elena." "Thank you." After getting approval from Bob's mother, Bob was very happy. However, I felt uneasy even though everything was going smoothly with our plans to get married. When we were about to register our marriage, my dad, who is a doctor and real estate investor, gave me an apartment in a luxury building in San Diego City as a wedding gift. I told Bob, "Dad has given me this apartment as a wedding gift, but it's our new home. Let's live here happily and peacefully together." Bob smiled, and we started our married life. However, after getting married, I realized something unsettling. Bob, who had lived with his parents until then, was almost incapable of doing household chores. He couldn't cook, didn't know how to use the washing machine, and showed no interest in learning. He would leave his garbage scattered around, not bothering to clean up. While I wanted us to share household responsibilities, Bob's careless attitude increased my frustration. In the first year of our marriage, I managed all the household responsibilities, even though I had some complaints since we were still in the honeymoon phase. But with the exhaustion from work and the struggle to keep up with chores, I reached my limit in our second year. I decided it was time to have a serious talk with Bob about sharing household duties. I bravely shared my unhappiness with Bob, but to my disappointment, he responded without any appreciation or thought, saying, "I'm tired from work too. You're much better at chores than I am, right? It's better if you do them since I'm not good at it." Just like that, Bob hardly helped with the chores, and I continued to handle most of our household duties. But that wasn't the only issue. After marrying Bob, I found out his mother also had some strange ideas. Bob wasn't really into celebrating occasions, so I decided to send a quality scarf and some carnations to his mother for Mother's Day. Even though I picked a nice scarf from a department store, his mother called me displeased. She criticized the scarf for not being from a famous brand and said it was ridiculous to send such an unknown item. I tried to explain its quality, but she wouldn't listen, insisting she wanted something from a very famous luxury brand. Shocked, I told Bob about this when he got home, but instead of understanding, he said, "Just do as she says." Bob didn't support me, and from then on, we started giving his mother cash as she demanded. Moreover, by our 7th year of marriage, she began visiting our home frequently, always finding reasons to ask for money. Bob would always smile and give money to his mother without any complaints. Even though I had a job, Bob's income was small, making our daily life just barely manageable. Out of desperation, I had to dip into our savings to cut living expenses. Despite my frustrations, I knew Bob cherished his mother and she had supported me during tough times. She was the mother of someone important to me, and with that thought, I endured. Now, in our 10 years of marriage, I continue to handle all the household chores and keep giving money to my mother-in-law. One day, during this routine, my father, whom I hadn't seen in a while, unexpectedly called me. The story he shared during our rare meeting was shockingly unexpected. He revealed that he was suffering from terminal cancer and that treatment was no longer possible. Overwhelmed with shock, tears spilled from my eyes. My father gently stroked my head, just as he did when I was a child, saying, "Elena, this is fate. Let's accept it quietly." I asked my dad why even he had to go through this. My days became a constant balancing act of work, household duties, and now visits to my father's hospital. While my job was somewhat flexible, managing the house was tough. When I told Bob I would be taking care of my father, he didn't react or offer to help. "It's tough with your father's sudden illness. Please do your best," was all Bob said. He only visited my father in the hospital once. I was so busy taking care of my father that I didn't have time for Bob. If I had time to worry about Bob, I wanted to prioritize my father. One day, as my father lay in his hospital bed, he suddenly asked, "Elena, how is your marriage with Bob going?" Caught off guard, I thought about Bob's attitude at home and his mother's behavior. I couldn't answer properly. Seeing my hesitation, my father seemed to understand and told me, "Elena, you don't have to endure this. Think about your happiness. Don't worry, you won't have any hardships after I'm gone." I couldn't hold back my tears, and my father silently and firmly held my hand. 5 months later, the inevitable happened. My father passed away quietly. Engulfed in immense sorrow, I started arranging the funeral. Bob showed no interest in my grief and didn't help with any of the preparations. Despite this, I was too busy with the funeral arrangements to pay much attention to Bob. Many friends and acquaintances attended my father's funeral, making it a heartfelt farewell. Even the indifferent Bob and his mother attended. The day after the funeral, I received a call from a lawyer about my father's inheritance. I arranged a meeting with the lawyer and listened to the explanation. The information was all new and quite surprising. After deducting taxes, like inheritance tax, my father's estate amounted to over $5 million. He had not only earned income as a doctor, but also made real estate investments, leaving behind such a vast fortune, all of it to be inherited by me, his only daughter. Wrapped in surprise and gratitude, yet trembling at the thought of handling such a huge amount of money, I proceeded with the inheritance process after returning home. I laid out the documents I got from the lawyer on my desk and started reading them. I was so tired that I ended up dozing off on the sofa for a bit. When I woke up, I heard Bob and his mother talking happily in the distance. "Huh, Bob and Mom too? When did you come?" I asked as I got up. Bob came over with a big smile and said, "Yes, Elena, well done." Confused by his sudden excitement, I noticed the inheritance papers in Bob's hand. "Wait, don't just read those without asking," I said, shocked and upset that Bob had looked through the documents without permission. I raised my voice at him, but my mother-in-law, not bothered at all, happily chimed in, "Wow, an inheritance of $5 million. Isn't that amazing? Now we can live comfortably for the rest of our lives." Confused, I couldn't understand why she would say that so suddenly. Then Bob turned serious and continued, "By the way, about this $5 million, I've decided it will be split between me and my mom." It was right after my father's funeral. Bob, having looked at the documents related to the inheritance I was supposed to receive without permission, said to me, "Elena, don't be too greedy. Oh, now I can finally quit my job. I have to thank that doddering old man." "Are you talking about my dad?" I accidentally said out loud. "Well, anyway, let's proceed with the inheritance process and get the money into our joint account as soon as possible," Bob said, ignoring my confusion. At that moment, Bob and my mother-in-law were excitedly talking about buying a new car and shopping. I couldn't hold back my emotions any longer. I was on the verge of exploding. Being burdened with household chores, asked for money, and to top it off, they insulted my father. While holding back my anger, I replied with a forced smile, "Sure, use the money, you and my mother-in-law, as you wish." Hearing this, my mother-in-law, seemingly satisfied, cheerfully said, "That's the spirit, Elena, quick to agree. Now make sure you work hard and earn money." "I don't want our savings to go down, so work hard," she said. I just nodded and pretended to listen to her selfish words. After that, Bob and my mother-in-law started spending money like crazy. Bob quit his job quickly, and my mother-in-law practically moved in with us, staying at our house all the time. They would leave in the morning and come back with expensive brand items. The 5-star restaurant we went to today wasn't as great as I expected. Yes, it was a bit disappointing for us, the sophisticated ones, they would say, acting like they were rich celebrities and dumping all the housework on me as if I were a maid. Bob seemed to think my father's inheritance would be available right away. He carelessly withdrew money from our joint account, and my savings of $300,000 dwindled rapidly. When I complained about their excessive spending, Bob just laughed it off, saying, "What are you talking about? Isn't $5 million coming soon? Then this kind of spending is no big deal." I warned him I had already stopped it, but Bob completely ignored me. Then, a month later, Bob and my mother-in-law suddenly left for a trip to Bermuda. I wasn't invited and was left alone at home. After seeing them off, I decided to take action. About a week later, while I was relaxing at home, I heard a loud knock on the door. Wondering what was happening, I glanced at the intercom monitor and saw Bob and my mother-in-law, both dressed in aloha shirts, standing at the front door. What do you want?" I asked calmly and coldly with anger. Bob yelled, "What are you even talking about? Why won't the door open?" Seeing Bob and my mother-in-law confused as to why the door wouldn't open, I confidently answered through the intercom, "Well, I changed the locks on the door, so of course it won't open." "What? Why?" Bob exclaimed. "Let's talk over this calmly at the nearby cafe." "Please go ahead. I'll join you shortly," I suggested. Bob and his mother, after shouting in front of the entrance, seemingly realized it was futile and soon headed to the cafe. Once I confirmed they had left, I felt a moment of relief. I went to the cafe and saw Bob and his mother already there, waiting angrily. "Hey, what's this about? Did you change the locks? Hand over the new keys right now," Bob demanded. "There's no need for me to give you the new keys. You both need to leave that house," I calmly told Bob and his mother. Facing a visibly angry Bob, I showed him a piece of paper. It was a divorce petition I had already filled out. "Divorce? You're serious about divorcing me?" His mother was equally shocked and confused. "Elena, why has it come to this? I spoke quietly to the two of them, who were panicking and flustered. With the way you've been spending money every day, are you sure your finances are okay? What money? Of course, it's fine, Bob snapped back, spitting as he spoke. Your father's inheritance is coming, right? There should still be over $100,000 in our joint account. Look, I'll show you right now. Saying this, Bob took out his smartphone and opened the banking app to check the account. Suddenly, his expression changed. What? What's this? Why is the money gone? It was there just the other day, Bob exclaimed. Hearing Bob's words, his mother also hurriedly looked at her phone, her face showing confusion. I revealed the truth to them as they were panicking, not understanding the situation. Of course, it's gone. I'm divorcing you, so I moved that $100,000 to my account as part of the property division. What do you mean? Bob's face turned to anger for a moment, but then he smirked, as if remembering something. Fine, I'll divorce you then. Transfer the inheritance you got from your dad right away. After all, property acquired during the marriage is split half and half in a divorce, right? Well, you might be misunderstanding something, I replied. Didn't you know? The inheritance I received, even though it was during our marriage, doesn't count for property division. There was a moment of silence between us. Then Bob and his mother's expressions changed drastically. Perhaps they truly believed they would receive part of my inheritance. I was utterly shocked and could only sigh in disbelief at the unfolding situation. No, that can't be true, I muttered under my breath, but the truth of the matter was glaringly clear. Her face turned red with a mix of denial and anger. Please, check for yourself, I said with a mocking tone that I couldn't quite mask. Bob immediately started frantically searching on his smartphone, desperate to prove me wrong. As he scrolled through the legal texts online, his face fell. It says here that property inherited by one spouse from a parent is considered separate property, therefore it's not subject to division and can't be split between the spouses. His voice was tinged with disbelief. What? Seriously? His mother, too, peered over his shoulder, her expression turning to one of shock as the reality of the legal standing dawned on them. Then Bob approached me, his demeanor shifting to one of desperation. Elena, please don't divorce me. I have no savings and no job. How am I supposed to live if you divorce me? His plea was laden with panic and fear, but I had seen too much and endured too much to be swayed by his sudden show of vulnerability. Facing Bob's pleading, I stood my ground, my voice firm and unwavering. What are you talking about? Take responsibility for your actions. I will never forget how you and your mother treated me. I'm divorcing you, and I'll go to court if I have to. My declaration was clear, a line drawn firmly in the sand. Intimidated by my fierce demeanor, which they had never witnessed before, Bob and his mother recoiled. They shrunk back in fear, whimpering softly. As they stood there, dejected and defeated, I knew I had finally taken a stand. The weight of my decision was heavy but necessary as I sought to reclaim my dignity and future from the ruins of a marriage that had veered so far off the path I had once envisioned. After walking out of the cafe, the divorce proceedings between Bob and I proceeded without major obstacles. The $100,000 I had shifted from our joint account was acknowledged as part of the division of our marital assets. Over time, I managed to legally compel Bob and his mother to vacate my house. This was a relief as Bob, having already squandered the money from our marital division, found himself in a precarious financial state. He was penniless and increasingly overwhelmed with a mountain of bills, stemming from lavish expenditures on their overseas trip and various other expenses charged to his credit cards. As Bob's financial troubles escalated, he sank deeper into debt. Both he and his mother were forced to take on additional loans just to keep up with their mounting bills. Eventually, they moved into a rundown apartment, a stark departure from their previous luxurious lifestyle. They now find themselves working exhaustively every day to manage their debts, a situation that has been a profound and shocking adjustment for both. Meanwhile, I took decisive steps to move forward with my life. I sold the condo that I once shared with Bob, a place full of mixed memories, and moved into the apartment that had belonged to my late father. This move was not just a change of scenery, it was a step towards reclaiming my independence and starting afresh on my own terms. In this new chapter of my life, I continued my work as before, maintaining the same job that had always given me a sense of stability and purpose. However, with the inheritance I received from my father, my financial situation became significantly more comfortable. This financial security has allowed me to live without the constant stress of monetary concerns that once plagued my marriage with Bob. Living in my father's apartment has brought a new sense of peace and continuity to my life. Every day, I wake up with a heart full of gratitude for the man who not only raised me with love, but also ensured that I would be secure after he was gone. This gratitude has inspired me to approach life with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. With the lessons learned from my troubled marriage, I am now more committed than ever to protecting my happiness and well-being. I've come to realize the importance of being surrounded by people who support and uplift me, rather than those who seek to take advantage. As I move forward, I am determined to cherish and make the most out of every moment, focusing on personal growth and happiness. As the days pass, I find myself more at ease, enjoying a life that is not just about survival, but about thriving. My days are spent peacefully, indulging in small joys, and planning for a future that I now look forward to with optimism and excitement. The stark contrast between my life now and the life I shared with Bob serves as a constant reminder of how far I've come and how much I've achieved on my own.